Hello, my name is Lucio, and welcome to the show. This week I read The Crossing by Cormac McCarthy. The Crossing is a set of series novels written by Cormac McCarthy in 1994, which follows All the Pretty Horses and precedes the Cities of the Plain. Cities of the Plain is much shorter than these two novels, even shorter than All the Pretty Horses, I believe. However, in this novel, we are found ourselves to be in the 1930s, late 1930s, where Billy Parham finds a she-wolf, and instead of killing the wolf like normal people would do in the 1930s, he decides to take the wolf and travel along with her towards Mexico. The reason this review took so long is because I was a bit daunted by the task. McCarthy is known for his flowery prose and never-ending sentences, which are derivative of Faulkner and other writers. Also, he has philosophical inquiries with people speaking to each other in philosophical thought, mostly involving a blind man, which there is a blind man in the road, and I'm not sure if there was in All the Pretty Horses, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was one upon further reread. To give you an example of the prose of McCarthy, I will present to you page 73, which quote, they rode up off the plain in the final dying light, man and wolf and horse over a terraced land of low hills much eroded by the wind, and they crossed through a fence line, or crossed where a fence line once had been. The wires long down and rolled and carried off, and the little naked mesquite post wandering single file away into the night like a enfilade of bent and twisted pensioners. They rode through the pass in the dark, and there he sat the horse and watched lightning to the south, far over the plains of Mexico. The wind was flashing softly through the trees in the pass, and in the wind were spits of sleet. He made his camp in the lee of Arroyo, south of the pass, and gathered wood and made a fire, and gave the wolf all the water she would drink. Then he tried her to the washed out elbow of cottonwood, and walked back and unsaddled and hobbled the horse. He unrolled the blanket and threw it over his shoulders, and took the mochila and went and sat before the fire. The wolf sat on her haunches and below him in the draw and watched him with her intractable eyes, and so red in the firelight. From time to time, she would bend to try the bindings on her legs with her side teeth, but she could not grip them for this stick in her jaws. So McCarthy's writing is very descriptive. There are either a juxtaposition of long sentence with declarative sentence, much like in Herman's case, more so in For Whom the Bell Tolls than his other works, such as The Old Man and Sea, which is just short declarative sentences. If you aren't convinced by this paragraph, then try reading the last paragraph of the same page, in which it says, a world burning on the shore of an unknowable void, a world construed out of blood, and blood's alchus, and blood in its core, in an integument, because it was nothing save blood had power to resonate against the void which threatened hourly to devour it. This quote fits more in line with Blood Meridian, which is a very violent novel in essence. If you're unfamiliar with it, it was highly praised by Harold Bloom, who called it one of the greatest works of 21st century literature. It's about the Glenton Gang, which is based off of real gang, known from Sutherland Chamberlain. I tried getting the diary, but it is like $1,000 on eBay or Etsy, something like that. Another example of his symbolism can be found in the second part of The Crossing. Doom enterprises divide lives forever into the then and now. End quote. Beginning quote. He thought to become the child he never was. Around page 147, he has a discussion with a man, and the man says, "Do not misunderstand me," he said. "The events of the world can have no separate light from the world, and yet the world itself can have no temporal view of things. It can have no cause to favor certain enterprises over others. The passing of armies and the passing of stands in the desert are one. There is no favoring, you see. How could there be? I hope he has." This man did not cease to believe in God, nor did he come to have some modern view of God. There is God and there is the world. He knew that the world would forget him, but that God could not. And yet that was the very thing he was for. In this quote, the man argues how there is God's world and then there is man's world. This means that man and God are separate. However, in the Genesis, man is formed through the image of God through his breath, which is meant to symbolize that God gave man life through his breath. And there are further quotes about God later on the line. I'm trying to find it. Later on in the book, Billy loses the wolf and is unable to care for the wolf. And spoilers, this is a spoiler-filled review, by the way. He decides to join the army, but is unable to because of a heart murmur. And I also tried to join the army, more so the Air Force, and in order to become a pilot. But eventually I had a disorder and stuck to books instead. So if you're interested in philosophical, dense dialogue and sparse action in between, and flowery prose with McCarthy at his best, although some would argue that Suttree and Blood Meridian are McCarthy's best, I really liked this novel. I thought it was an enjoyable read, and if you're looking into an entry, I say go with No Country for Old Men or The Road and work your way down from The Road. Anyways, have a good day and goodbye.